Extra virgin olive oil is a great example of where the benefits of a food don't increase the more you have it. So more isn't always more. Moderation when it comes to food as medicine is almost always the winning formula. I enjoyed my coffee with a little milk or a little cream, dairy. Turns out that's not the best way to drink coffee. So I actually have it straight now. And the reason is this. All right, all you coffee lovers out there, you can join me enjoying a cup of Joe, and I'm going to tell you why. Coffee slows down cellular aging. If you want to actually be in the moment and not speed up your aging, it turns out that coffee can actually do that. There is a bioactive in coffee beans called chlorogenic acid, and this has been studied in human subjects drinking coffee. 1 to 3 cups a day of drinking coffee has been shown to slow down the burn rate of your telomeres. These are the caps at the end of your DNA that burn down like a fuse that reflect how fast you're actually aging. It's kind of the clock the timer that gets started from the time you're born. And the older you are, the fuse starts to shrink. Drinking coffee slows that process down. And all you got to do to get that effect is to drink anywhere from 1 to 3 cups of coffee a day. I easily meet that level myself. Okay, second reason that you actually want to drink coffee is that coffee actually protects stem cells in your body. Now, our stem cells live in our bone marrow, and they come out into our bloodstream to repair us from the inside out. Happens all the time. But as we get older, our stem cells are a little bit less vigorous than when we're younger. And a lot of things can affect this, including oxidative stress from the environment and just simply aging. And so one of the things that coffee does is it acts as a shield to our stem cells so they can actually keep on working as robustly and vibrantly as possible, regenerating us from the inside out. Third reason to have coffee every day is that coffee improves our metabolism. Coffee contains something called chlorogenic acid. And chlorogenic acid activates our metabolism. And the way it does it is by stimulating the production of brown fat. And we've got different kinds of fat in our body. There's white fat that's wiggly and jiggly, and brown fat that's wafer thin. And one of the things that brown fat can do is get turned on like a space heater. And when it turns on like a space heater, it's a process called thermogenesis. And coffee turns on thermogenesis. And you know why thermogenesis in brown fat is useful? Because the brown fat will be triggered and it'll burn down the harmful white fat, the visceral fat. So good fat fights bad fat, and coffee actually makes that happen. So you actually get more energy and it increases your metabolism. The other thing it does is actually helps you lose body fat, and you can actually lose weight that way. And studies have been done to show that drinking up to 4 cups of coffee a day can actually help you lose body fat. In fact, up to about 8 pounds of body fat over about 6 months or so. Not a huge amount by itself, but every little bit counts, especially when it's actually burning away your harmful white fat. Now, another thing that coffee does is it's anti-inflammatory. So chlorogenic acid in coffee is very anti-inflammatory. We know that inflammation is the root cause for a lot of the diseases of aging. And so coffee, enjoy your cup of Joe, actually helps you enjoy the rest of your days longer and better because it actually chills out inflammation as well. And then finally, coffee improves gut health. It turns out that when you drink coffee, the coffee chemicals actually get down into your gut, and it protects our gut microbiome. It shifts the gut microbiome into a healthier state, so you've got better neighborhoods of gut bacteria. And as you know, better gut health is better overall health because our gut bacteria lower inflammation. And the way it does that is by releasing a metabolite called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, SCFAs, that actually lower inflammation. And guess what? Drinking coffee helps your gut bacteria make more short-chain fatty acids, more SCFA. So these are all really great reasons why you would actually want to drink coffee every single day. And now I'm going to give you some pro tips. Pro tip number one is you want to get organic coffee if you want to get the most out of the chlorogenic acid. And the reason is this: coffee, like other plants, actually produce bioactives like chlorogenic acid in response to insects that are in its natural environment, right? So what do bugs in a natural environment do? They nibble on the leaves and the stems, and the coffee plant makes chlorogenic acid as a response. It's kind of a wound healing response. It's trying to heal itself when those insects are nibbling on it. Now, what do you think happens when you actually spray pesticides on the coffee bush? The bugs aren't nibbling as much, so it makes less chlorogenic acid. So if you get organic, no pesticides, more natural bugs nibbling away at it, it's going to produce more of this healing substance, chlorogenic acid. Good for the coffee plant, even better for us when we actually drink it. So get organic coffee whenever you can. Fair trade, of course. Now, the other tip about coffee is that although for years I enjoyed my coffee with a little milk or a little cream, dairy, okay, I like it that way. Turns out that's not the best way to drink coffee. So I actually have it straight now. And the reason is this: the chlorogenic acid in coffee floats around in tiny little molecules in the coffee. But when you put dairy in it, dairy's made of dairy fat, and those little fat particles form soap bubbles that trap the chlorogenic acid. All right. So now you drink the coffee that you have some cream or milk in it, and guess what? The chlorogenic acid is trapped in the soap bubble, and it just trickles down your gut, and you get rid of it, poop it out on the other end, and you don't actually absorb all of it. So if you want to get the most out of the chlorogenic acid, you'll absorb some if you have dairy, but not all. But if you want to get the most out of it, just have your coffee straight. Or if you want to cut the coffee taste a little bit, you can actually use a nut milk, almond milk, soy milk. All of those will actually work just fine. They don't actually form those little soap bubbles that we're talking about. Okay, now the last little tip I'll tell you about coffee is something that surprised me, because when I was in medical school and I drank tons of coffee just to stay awake, all right, one of the things that we always were taught, or I thought it was true, was that coffee, if you drink a lot of coffee, it's a diuretic, and it causes you to go to the bathroom, and you can actually get urinate, you can actually get dehydrated if you drink a lot of coffee. Well, guess what? Clinical studies have been done, and it showed that if you drink moderate amounts of coffee, 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day, it doesn't actually cause you to be any more dehydrated than if you just drank water. All right. So coffee does not dehydrate you. Coffee actually does all these great things. So let's recap. Coffee slows down cellular aging. Coffee stimulates your stem cells. Coffee improves your metabolism by burning down harmful body fat, and you'll actually lose some weight along the way. And coffee is anti-inflammatory, and coffee improves gut health. All right. All these benefits from coffee. One of my favorite beverages. I drink it in the morning as a pick-me-up, all right? I do think that caffeine is really good. And if you're sensitive to caffeine, you can try to get decaffeinated coffee, all right? That will be fine. It still has chlorogenic acid, but just know that the decaffeination process removes a lot of the caffeine, not all, a lot, but it also removes some of the other bioactives as well. But some people are sensitive, and it's just fine. If you want to actually have that taste of coffee and get some of the benefits, decaf will actually work as well. Just not as good as the full test coffee, which is my beverage of choice. Olive oil is a delicious, healthy oil, despite what you may have heard from some people. And it not only tastes great, but it is actually good for heart health. It's got research-proven benefits for your health. And the reason that olive oil is good for your health is because it has polyphenols. And 2 of them that have been best studied are called hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal. Don't bother trying to spell them. Just know that they've actually been figured out. And researchers like me are actually working on understanding how they work. And here's what we do know. Both hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal are anti-inflammatory. And they also help your circulation. They actually protect your endothelial cells, a lining of your circulation. And this allows you to lower your risk of cardiovascular disease. And the other thing is that hydroxytyrosol, one of these bioactives in extra virgin olive oil, actually activates brown fat, which can improve your metabolism and burn down harmful inflammatory visceral fat. So anti-inflammatory, improves your circulation, lowers your risk of heart disease, turns down brown fat, burns away harmful fat, and improves your metabolism. So what's oleocanthal? Well, oleocanthal is a bioactive in extra virgin olive oil that gives the oil its peppery taste in the back of your throat, right? That's part of really, really good, fresh, extra virgin olive oil. Now, both hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal are good for the lining of the blood vessels, as I told you, the endothelium. And there are 32 studies in total, clinical studies that involve 841,000 people that show that consuming extra virgin olive oil is associated with a lower risk of heart disease and stroke. All right. So this is the clinical proof of concept. Now, this is all thought to be due to these polyphenols that improve endothelial layers in your blood vessels, as well as your blood flow. So what are olives? All right. These bioactives are found in olives. Olives are one of the most important fruits in the Mediterranean diet. If you've never seen an olive tree, it actually grows in arid, hot weather. It's got kind of a dusty looking trunk. Some olive trees are hundreds of years old. And the olives that actually form start off as green, and then they ripen over the course of the summer. Now, how olive oils are made is that olives, when they're ripe, are shaken off the tree, they're collected, and when they're collected, they then are crushed and spun. And so there's a big drum that will spin these crushed olives. And of course, olives contain water in its meat, and it contains oil. So as you spin it, all the liquid comes off the side. It gets collected in a container, and the oil floats to the top, right? Oil's lighter than water. That's the good stuff. And the water actually settles down to the bottom. Now, the oil, actually for extra virgin first press olive oil, will actually have little bits of the olive meat, and that's why it's green. That's why when you get extra virgin olive oil, it looks green. If you hold it up, put it into a glass and hold it up to the light, it looks green. You're actually looking at the green color with the little bits of the olives in it. And so first press means that you just press it out, spin it off, and collect it, and you don't filter it. That's what first press extra virgin olive oil is. And those polyphenols are found in those little floating bits that give extra virgin olive oil its taste as well as its color. Now, a second benefit of extra virgin olive oil comes from the fact that it contains healthy fats. Now, the main fat is called oleic acid, okay? And oleic acid has potent anti-inflammatory properties all by itself. So the bioactives in the polyphenols are good, but the oleic acid, the healthy fat, is also anti-inflammatory, all right? And it was a clinical study done in Japan looking at 3,000 men and women. And this was published in the Journal of Epidemiology that showed that the consumption of oleic acid correlated with the reduction in the inflammatory marker called C-reactive protein in the blood after taking oleic acid. Now, extra virgin olive oil also has a little bit of omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, and you know omega-3s are healthy as well. Now, a third benefit of extra virgin olive oil is that you don't need to consume a lot to get its benefits. And this is where the 3 tablespoons per day come in. Now, 3 tablespoons, if you were to actually measure it out, look like a lot if you're actually going to take it straight. But actually, if you think about it, extra virgin olive oil used in salad dressing, in a dish that actually is sauteed in a little bit of extra olive oil, dipping it into a piece of healthy sourdough bread for the oil for the taste. Before long, you'll actually easily consume over the course of a day 3 tablespoons. So I think that 3 tablespoons are easy to consume in the course of the day in normal eating, Mediterranean diet. I would not do shots of extra virgin olive oil. After all, it's a fat, and it's better to actually spread it out in the context of food. Also, you can actually enjoy it more. And always be careful. This is a fat. You don't want to overconsume that as well. Now, extra virgin olive oil is a great example of where the benefits of a food don't increase the more you have it. So more isn't always more. Moderation when it comes to food as medicine is almost always the winning formula, but especially when it comes to fat, including extra virgin olive oil. By the way, remember I told you spin the crushed olives in a drum and the fluid is collected, oil floats to the top and the water's below? Well, guess what? Some of those polyphenols are actually found in the olive water. Hydroxytyrosol, oleocanthal, is found in olive water. And so, if you're actually eating the whole olive, make sure that you're actually enjoying the knowledge that when you actually eat the meat and you get the juice of the olive, that's also good for you as well. Extra virgin olive oil, something else you need to know is it's great for cooking. It's another way to actually get it into your system because most food preparation requires a little bit of oil in order to be able to cook. And cooking with extra virgin olive oil actually gets some of the polyphenols into your food. So you get more bang for your buck. If you're cooking healthy food and you cook it in extra virgin olive oil, the oil makes it even healthier. Now, there are some myths with extra virgin olive oil. One of them is that you shouldn't cook in high heat because it's got a low smoke point. Look, you probably shouldn't be cooking too often with super high heat, and you never want oil that's actually smoking hot. But actually, the smoke point of extra virgin olive oil is about 325 degrees to 375 degrees, depending on the quality of the oil. And guess what? That overlaps with other oils that are used for frying, like corn oil and canola oil, and extra virgin olive oil is much healthier than those. So what I would tell you is that don't be afraid to cook with extra virgin olive oil, although you can actually have a plain, because the smoke point is actually much higher than people actually think. Last thing I'm going to tell you is how do you get the most potent extra virgin olive oils? Which ones have the most polyphenols? Well, it turns out there are 3 olives that contain the highest levels of polyphenols measured in extra virgin olive oil. And they come from Spain, Greece, and Italy. So if you're looking for olive oils that actually contain the highest amount of polyphenols, look for Spanish olive oil, Picual olives. You look for Greek olive oils called Koroneiki olives. Both Picual and Koroneiki are pretty common olives, so it's easy to find these. And in Italy, if you want to look for an Italian olive oil that's very high in polyphenols, look for Moraiolo olives used to make the olive oil. So the best way to do this, what I do when I go shopping for olive oil, is I pick up the oil and I actually try to look for, is there anything that says it's monovarietal, meaning only one type of olive, one variety of olive is used, monovarietal, right? I look for Picual from Spain, Koroneiki from Greece, and much less common to find is actually Moraiolo from Italy, from Umbria as well. Okay, but you can shop for all of these online and you can just order the monovarietals. Remember, Picual, Koroneiki, and Moraiolo. Okay, now the last thing you need to be a little bit careful about is getting fooled by fake olive oils. There's a whole industry of pirated and fake olive oils out there. Always look on the label carefully to see if it actually gives you enough information. Some olive oils that are really genuine, they even stamp the harvest date of the olives, and those are the ones that you know are actually genuine. The ones that actually don't specify the varietals and don't specify the dates, look them up online to see if there's any reports that they might be fake. You definitely don't want to get the fake kind. And finally, when you bring home your olive oil, keep it in a cool, dark place. Bright light, sunlight actually degrades the polyphenols, degrades the olive oil, and makes it go bad faster. So dark bottle, dark place, cool environment, that's the best way to actually store your olive oil. Chocolate is a confection, it's candy. Chocolate is actually made with cacao. Cacao is a plant-based food which contains polyphenols. The more cacao you have in the chocolate, the darker the chocolate, right? It's 70% cacao, 80% cacao, even 100% cacao. That's when you actually have a lot of the polyphenols from the cacao plant-based. One of the things that we look for is for healthy chocolate is the percent higher levels of cacao. The more, the better. I always say 80% or higher is exactly what you want. Okay, now, what does dark chocolate do for you? It does a lot of things. One of the most important things the polyphenols do is it recruits your stem cells. All right, that's right. We all have stem cells in our body. They were left over when we were growing in our mom's belly in the womb, and they formed our organs, all right? So when we were actually born, there were extra stem cells left over, about 70 million, all right? And they all got packed away, stored away in our bone marrow. So our bone marrow is the little the spongy stuff in the middle of our bone. If you ever took a chicken bone and broke it in half, you would actually see that brown stuff in the middle. That's bone marrow. That's packed with stem cells. So eating chocolate the chocolate bioactives called proanthocyanidins actually calls out those stem cells into our bloodstream. It signals to them so they come flying out of our bone marrow like bees coming out of a hive, and they circulate around in our blood. And you know what they do? They look for areas that need to be fixed, like potholes in the road. They're looking for where they need to patch. And not just in your blood vessels, although that's a very important place for dark chocolate to have its activity. The proanthocyanidins, stem cells, actually fix your blood vessels, but also other organs as well, right? The stem cells are going everywhere: your brain, your heart, your liver, your lungs, everywhere. So dark chocolate is actually a way of stimulating these stem cells to come on out in order to be able to do their thing.
Hey there. Have you heard of intermittent fasting? I'm sure you have. It's not what you eat, but it's about when you eat. And I've got a simple guide to help you get started with intermittent fasting. If you're looking for an easy way to boost your energy and improve your health, and maybe shed a few pounds along the way, this could be the perfect solution for you. In my guide, I'm going to show you how fasting helps your body burn fat and also repair itself. It's an easy thing that you can do effortlessly every single day. Plus, I'll give you tips on how to succeed with intermittent fasting. And I'll tell you the science behind why this works. Just click the link below to grab your free copy, or scan the QR code on the screen right now. Now, let's get back to the video.
How do we know, by the way, that it actually works? Well, studies have been done where they took men who have cardiovascular disease, coronary artery disease. We know that they have ragged blood vessels, not good blood flow, and they actually can do a test called flow-mediated dilation. This is basically where you see how resilient the blood vessels are. Good, normal, healthy blood vessels are very resilient, all right? And ones that are sick with cardiovascular disease, not so resilient. So how do you study this? You basically blow up a blood pressure cuff, just like in a doctor's office, and they put an ultrasound. And when the blood pressure cuff is completely squeezed, you're actually cutting off the blood flow, all right? You count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and so on and so forth, all right? There's no blood flow going through. Then you release it suddenly, and blood jets right through the blood pressure cuff. And now you take the ultrasound to measure how quickly the blood vessels adapt and rebound after the blockage, all right? So you have no flow, all of a sudden a ton of flow, okay? A tsunami of blood comes out. How good is your blood vessel in actually receiving it? How resilient is it? This is called flow-mediated dilation, FMD, all right? Because the blood vessels have to dilate when more blood flow comes through. And it turns out that studies have looked at people who have had dark chocolate, actually cacao beverage, and they found that having the cacao beverage actually helps the blood vessels become more resilient because the stem cells have actually come out and fixed and repaired and regenerated the areas of the blood vessels in order to keep them as healthy and as resilient as possible. All right, so this is basically taking about 2 cups of hot cocoa, dark chocolate, for a month, 30 days. And some people were able to double the number of stem cells that come out of their blood vessels. Okay, so we now know that dark chocolate is good and why it's good for us. But what about this issue about heavy metals? What's up with that? All right, remember I told you cacao is a plant-based food. Comes from the cacao pod. If you haven't seen a cacao pod, it kind of looks like a hard football. It's a little bit skinnier than a football. All right, it's heavy though, heavy like a football. And inside are these seeds that get roasted and fermented. Those are the beans that goes on to actually be crushed and powderized and turned into cocoa powder and made into chocolate. Okay, plant-based. All right, that means that it grows out of the ground from a cacao tree. Now, the cacao trees tend to grow in tropical areas, especially volcanic areas. And what happens in these tropical volcanic areas is that there's a lot of activity, geological activity. And deep inside the earth are heavy metals. All right, we're surrounded by heavy metals, arsenic, lead, cadmium, scary sounding, right? Okay, you don't want them from a factory spewing it out into the air around your house. But I can tell you that present in the earth are natural amounts of these cadmium and lead and arsenic. All right, so in plants growing around volcanic areas, you actually tend to have the roots take it up, and you wind up actually having more in the environment. And so cacao beans pods tend to pick up more heavy metals. That's one of the reasons, by the way, that dark chocolate has these heavy metals. All right. Another reason that heavy metals can actually accumulate is, unfortunately, many of these cacao plantations are in industrialized developing countries where they're not taking care of the environment. So some of the cacao trees are near toxic dumps. Now you've got dust flying everywhere. That's not healthy for you. These toxic metals, lead and cadmium, and so on and so forth. And a lot of times these cacao pods are opened up, and the seeds are dried right out in the open, right? Bright, sunny, tropical environment, drying the seeds. Well, guess what? If there's lead or cadmium, heavy metals in the air, in the dust, they might fall down onto those seeds. They're going to get crushed. So those are two explanations for how cacao even gets any heavy metal. And although we haven't really checked yet, I bet if you checked many plant-based foods that grow in those areas, you'll also see heavy metals present. But we now know chocolate products can actually have it, because there was a report, research report done by Consumer Reports, which is sort of a research group that evaluates products for quality and safety and construction and all that kind of stuff. And what they did is they looked at 28 chocolate bars and then 48 chocolate-based products. This was published a few years ago across 7 categories. So hot chocolate mix, chocolate bars, and even chocolate chips. And what they were looking for are 2 heavy metals. They were looking for lead, all right, and they were looking for cadmium. And what they found is that every single product had a little bit, at least a little bit of lead or cadmium. Now, why is that important? Well, if you have a little bit of lead or cadmium, no big deal. But if you continuously eat this, ingest it, and you start accumulating lead and cadmium into your bloodstream, well, it's a setup for problems. Accumulation in our tissues, in our body, of heavy metals can cause arrhythmias, heart problems. It can interfere with the generation of red blood cells, so you wind up having anemia. It can interfere with your brain and cause memory loss. It also can accumulate and damage your kidney as well. So heavy metals, nothing to joke about. These are actually really concerning contaminants in our environment. So what this Consumer Reports study did is take a look at all these chocolate products and figure out which ones actually had unacceptably high levels. So I'm not going to go into all the different products that they tested. You can look them up yourself on Consumer Reports. Just go on Google and search Consumer Reports, chocolate, and heavy metals, and you'll find that report right out there. But in this report, the part I want to call your attention to is that they also found chocolate products that actually had the lowest levels of heavy metals. So these would be, of all the chocolates, the safest ones to have. So let me tell you what they are. One of them is called masked organic dark chocolate, 80%. Okay, that's a safe one. Then Coca Tesa organic dark chocolate, 70%. That one also had low lead. Coca, it's a Coca. Then Ghirardelli intense dark chocolate, 86% cacao. All right, that's a good dark chocolate, 86%. A lot of those polyphenols. And then Ghirardelli intense dark chocolate, 72% cacao. Those actually led the pack. So let me go over them again. The masked organic dark chocolate, 80% Coca. Tesa organic dark chocolate, 70% cacao. Ghirardelli intense dark chocolate, 86% cacao. And Ghirardelli intense dark, 72% cacao. These are the ones that were considered the safest. All right. They have the lowest levels of both lead and cadmium. In any event, you shouldn't be eating too much dark chocolate anyway. It's a candy, like I'm telling you. And but these are the ones that you would actually choose. Now, if you had to try to figure out how to even get even less, go for slightly lower levels of cacao. All right. So if you wind up getting 80% cacao, which is what I generally recommend, that's actually a good level. You're going to get lots of polyphenols. But if you get 70%, you're going to get a little bit less of the bioactive, but you also get less of the lead and cadmium as well. All right. So that's really what I would actually do to recommend on how to approach this issue of getting the benefits of dark chocolate, but minimizing the dangers of heavy metals like lead or cadmium. The other thing I would tell you about dark chocolate, my strong recommendation is to nibble on it and not to just eat the whole bar down, okay, like when you were a kid. What I like to do when I eat my dark chocolate is I like to get a bar. I like to break it into pieces, all right, and I will have it with coffee, right? So this is like mocha without it mixed into the coffee. I'll nibble a little bit of chocolate. I'll sip a little coffee. The hot coffee will kind of melt the chocolate in my mouth. Absolutely delicious. And you get to eat it slowly, so you're not really getting as much of a glucose spike. All right, so that's a way to do it. Nibble on your dark chocolate and really enjoy. Our food is something we should enjoy. I mean, so many people love chocolate. I don't want to actually discourage you from eating it, but I think that this is one way for you to understand how to get the best of the dark chocolate and avoid the worst of the heavy metals. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
Hi there. If you enjoyed watching this video, I know you'll love the next one. Stay here and check it out, and I'll see you there.